All right. Oh wait, hold on. We'll zoom out so we can show the backgrounds. Unless you prefer it closer. What are you
I
thinking?
think we can zoom out.
Very nice. All right, everyone. Welcome to the Wolf Podcast. Welcome to the DEPINS conversation. I'm very excited to get into this conversation. If you guys are in any of our spaces, we've ran a DEPIN conversation for a long time. It was a space and sector I was relatively unfamiliar with just about a year ago, but now DEPIN startup ways are probably right there at the top of the sectors that I believe in for the future on a personal take and a personal level. So I'm very excited to speak with Alex from the AYDO team, who's also building in the DeepIn space. So if you guys are in DeepIn lands, highly recommend you guys check them out. If you're on X, just go right above our faces. You should be able to click their icon and go straight to the X page and give them a follow. If you're on YouTube, down in the description below. But Alex, dude, welcome to the show. I'm really excited to get into this conversation.
Hi, how are you today?
Doing well, man. Doing well. Yeah, just trying to keep up with all the crypto stuff, like we were saying offline
Oh,
just now a second ago.
I
Absolutely
know, man.
madness, but
It is.
it's a good year probably to be launching and be doing cool stuff. So I would love for you to just give a brief introduction on what AYDO does and is, and then I really want to dive into sort of your thesis around DePIN because I feel like that'll give a little bit of a foundation for the rest of the conversation.
If we're doing both, I would rather start with Deepin and
Sure,
then, yeah.
that'll work.
So, for those who are unfamiliar, Deepin is this new narrative and it focuses around hardware and data. So, basically, you have some hardware around, or you can participate in the Web3 economy with it. So you can sell it, like essentially you sell your computation powers, you sell your internet bandwidth, you sell the data you can collect locally with the sensors. And the beauty of it, it has a very big advantage comparing to traditional means of doing computation, of doing VPN services, of doing Wi-Fi sharing hotspots, of doing data collection, which is so much more effective. The system is very robust and it's very flexible, and it can reflect the demands of the market and adjust to them very quickly. So this is very cool and this is very big, but it has certain issues. So that's my take on the deep end in general. Now talking about us, I mentioned issues, and the issues are hardware costs. So currently, projects make their own hardware. Most of them, like 99%, they do their own hardware. You have to buy it. It's usually priced anywhere from $200 to more than 1,000, and then you rely just on one project to make the payoff of the return on your investment. And thing is, it usually is a very long period unless the token is speculatively high. So, and you cannot, if the project goes out of business, you are stuck with a hardware that has no secondary market value most of the time, meaning
Mm-hmm.
that you rely solely on one project to make your money back, and you invest heavily to get it. So, I believe that's the biggest problem of the industry, and it's the biggest barrier for deepen mass adoption. And that's what we are trying to solve here with AYDO. So we are connectivity infrastructure. We connect generic IoT devices, generic sensors, generic IP cameras. Whenever it comes to data collection, we're the go-to people. So we help users connect devices from like Xiaomi, Philips, Samsung, Realink, etc. So basically, the devices which you can buy on your local Amazon or your local Alibaba or whatever other online store you can have the same day delivery. The devices are priced 5 to 20 times cheaper comparing to deep end projects, and they have secondary market value. So that's the first thing we are solving. Second is the data stream market, which what we are, meaning that we don't force you. Hey, you must stream. Like if you got the camera, you stream just to this project and that's it. You have flexibility, so you can see what people are willing to pay, who is valuing your data most, or valuing your computation or Wi-Fi or internet bandwidth most, and select who you work with. And if you don't like them anymore, let's say, they had some news and you're like, okay, I don't want to work with them anymore, you can switch to another project, meaning you don't have those risks attached. So
Mm,
our job is basically balancing this relationship between the user's needs and the buyers. So yeah, so we're like acting as a DePIN aggregator and also a data stream
gotcha.
market. And for the data stream market, we're also trying to onboard AIs so they can participate and request on-demand data streams to AI models. So building a big infrastructure here, but first and foremost, solving two biggest problems in DePIN. Yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna
simple
say
as
the well,
that.
I appreciate the breakdown, and yeah, DPins is gonna be dope. Bullish on DPin as well. Yeah, was gonna say that this is a different angle than I've seen approached, a different way to approach DPin angle, I guess, than I've seen in the past. Which I thought was a pretty cool thing that you guys are doing. For yourself, how did you get involved in the project? How long have you been there? And then maybe any personal takes you have on the DPin world. It's pretty cool to be building in this world. I say this all the time, but I really do view this as a blessing to be in the land of innovation, because with the land of innovation you get stuff like random nonsense in meme coin land that is absolutely so degenerate it hurts. And there's also some of the coolest tech being built in the entire world, and we're at the forefront of it. We get to cover it. We get to speak to these people. So I love being here, and it's cool that we get to contribute in an active way, because crypto land is being built as we speak. And when you guys come with an announcement, you are actually chipping away at that thing alongside everyone else. So when these announcements are coming out, X happens, crypto does this, or like new whatever. It's like that's due to the fact that we're all pushing this thing forward, quite literally. So, anyways, yeah, I would love for you to give a bit of an introduction story for yourself.
Sure. So I have traditional financial background. So what I love is economy.
Mm,
That would be my passion, and I really like the idea of Web3 economy. In general, I think it has, for certain cases, it has tremendous advantage, especially in its flexibility and adaptability. So I got into the Web3 roughly, let's say 5 years, and then 3 years ago I got into it really deeply, and used to work for a crypto project, used to have a small startup of my own,
mm,
and around a year and a half ago started AYDO with my co-founders. So they did have legacy technology of theirs, basically the connectivity infrastructure. They used to do smart homes, and they knew how to connect pretty much anything you get. People, when people do smart homes, they're like, I want best of the best, or I want this sensors, but we only have this available. So they will go to people to when it comes to connectivity. They would take things that never work together ever and make them, work as if they were designed to work together. So they had this technology. I was all about the Web3 economy. Let's sit down together, brainstormed. I'm like, yeah, this is like we can do stuff. We got into the deep end, and the next half a year, we basically talked to investors, we talked to data buyers, we talked to deep end projects and data sellers. So we got a lot of feedback, and what we realized that here is like two biggest problems, like the hardware costs and ecosystem locks.
mm.
So, and we had the means to solve it. So then after that, it was basically building, working on like regular stuff, community technology. But we knew there is a problem, we're solving it, and yeah, so pretty much pretty much the story.
That is awesome. Yeah, I always like how people get in. My story is okay. Well, the story itself is cool, but the initial catalyst is just so typical. It's like I literally bought Dogecoin in 2020, and it just shot like a rocket ship. And I took that money, lost all of it 6 months later in the crypto crash. Of course, I reinvested and lost it all. And then eventually said, okay, there's something here. That's clearly not my trading abilities. So that's awesome, man. So, anyways, this
I,
is
I
this is
mean,
probably one of my favorite
I
questions.
had opportunity to get into blockchain and into basically like into coins and tokens earlier, but it was just I wasn't ready mentally in a way because
Mm.
at the time there was like 6 7 years ago outside of DeFi there was basically very abstract things being built, and I'm like
Mhm.
I don't like I understand it maybe mentally, but my heart doesn't like I'm not the believer here.
I see.
And deep in what I love about it, it's not fully Web3. Like if you take the anarchic definition of Web3, it's more of Web 2.5. And I'm like, yes, this is the thing I understand. This is the thing I feel comfortable with. This is what I believe in. And I know what problems are there and I know we can solve it. So uh, I think the time was right for me to get in. In a way, I like Deepin because it's like DeFi I think DeFi is more abstract than Deepin in many ways. And I think Deepin is on this, connection between the real buyers, real enterprises, real world technologies, and the physical hardware. And at the same time, the Web3 world and and tokens and markets and, basically decentralized authorities and free
Mhm.
economy. And Deepin is this very good connecting bridge. And I think the whole like sector will bring the mass adoption of blockchain. That's already happening, but I don't think meme coin will do it. I think it's the Deepin who will solidify the bridge between those worlds.
I agree. There's a place where they all fit together into a nice puzzle. You got to have a little bit of degen, I think, in the beginning, especially. But it's almost one of those things that you can't really fight it with DeepIn. It's gonna happen. You can't not tokenize everything when everyone started to buy in. At this point, when Larry Fink just switched over and said, "Yeah, we're tokenizing the world," I was like, "Okay, yeah, I'm on board." And that was the first thing. The second I saw that, I was like, "Okay, this is a very real thing that the biggest people in the world are looking at." They think tokenization makes sense, and so that's when I start to dive into like, what does that mean to tokenize things? How do you tokenize a tree? Like, what does that even mean? Like tokenizing and lending product. There's all these new things that pop up. So here's my question: what is the biggest like problem that DeepIn is facing right now? The challenges, I guess, that the market in DeepIn is facing. You've been in the world for a little bit. I'm curious what your perspective is.
So, in the short run, it is data buyers. Uh, it's getting better. Like a year ago, the situation was awful. Like because people like with when you sell stuff, when you sell data, you have to balance the size of the network and rewards you're paying to it, and at the same time the value you generate from it. In this case, would be the data. And when it comes to data buyers, you can break them down. But if you take like a generic data buyer, there are certain criteria they're looking for. Like the data can be what they call esoteric data. So it can be something very niche and specific, which may not obviously generate some value, but they still like that type of data. But they want some representation of the areas. They want certain areas. They think of it like, okay, what value can it add to our analysis if we talk about hedge funds? So a year ago, the industry wasn't there, and the networks were small, relatively small. We're
Mm.
still kind of fighting like what's the biggest and best blockchain we should build on, which was more like internal quarrel, I would say, rather than anything useful. And
Mm.
then everybody's like, okay, we actually have to do business, and started working with data buyers, which is amazing for the industry. Otherwise, it would have just died. Now, it still is a problem, but I see that people are solving it. And I see
Mm.
people having the data buyers. I see people approaching enterprise, approaching AIs. AIs were also a blessing for the whole DeepIn industry because AI have used all the publicly available data, and they are
Mhm.
willing to pay for proprietary data sets. They are willing to have to pay for the data streams. And if you think about it, if you want AI to interact with real world, you need real world data. And DeepIn is
Mm.
most efficient and the cheapest way to get it. So in that regards, we see the bright light. We have a direction. It's just we have to continue doing what we're doing. So
Yeah.
in the short run, I think that is the issue, but we are solving it. In the long run, it's hardware costs and ecosystem logs.
Okay.
You
Interesting.
can get some people who are really into deepin, and they will basically disregards any costs, and they will get in and they will participate, and they just love the stuff. But you
Yep.
need average Joe Schmoes coming in, and that
Mm,
is that is won't happen unless you lower the price of hardware. Because you come to a person, you're like, hey, this is Web3 economy. He's like, yeah, that's cool. Hey, this is deepin. All right, that sounds cool. And then like, hey, do you want to
mm,
get in? He's like, sure. And you're like, hey, it's gonna cost you $300. That the thing will may just go belly up tomorrow, and
mm.
that's like the problem of deepin. That's the biggest problem, I think.
Interesting. I guess it does make sense. Yeah. So you're talking about for people who want to come in, deploy devices, get started. Is that who you're talking about when they come in?
Yeah,
You're
so
saying
so
for
I'm
those
talking
people,
about like because if you look at the current deepin followers or deepin like deepin user base.
community, peoples. Yeah.
People, yeah, people love tokens. They understand them.
Sure.
This
Okay.
is a
Yeah.
crypto crowd. They know
Of
tokens. They're
course.
like, yeah, NFTs. Yeah, get me too.
Yeah.
Like tokens. Love them. Get on board. But they are in many cases are not the data streamers or not the
Hmm.
computational nodes, and that's who you need. Yes, they are important. They provide liquidity for the market. They make it more efficient. They
Hmm.
represent like basically the company with the price. But you need nodes, and getting nodes onboarded is hard for pretty much every deepin project. And
Hmm.
problem with onboarding is hardware costs, ecosystem logs. It's also usability in many cases because you may have five different big devices lying around. It's not like the biggest barrier, but it's actually something we also solve because you can run
Hmm.
everything from one device. You can participate in five depends at the same time from one Raspberry or one laptop. But again,
Hmm.
this is wouldn't be the critical issue. The critical issue is you have to spend the time. You have to have money lying around,
Hmm.
and the industry has to do something about it. Again, we have a solution, uh, and yeah, I think we're gonna
Very
solve it.
nice. Very nice. So if you could just give a quick breakdown on IoT devices, because the next question is going to be, what is the process for connecting IoT devices to DePIN protocols? So speaking to the audience who's like, cool, tokenizing the world, earning money in yield, providing data, getting paid for it, great, I'm all in. What is the IoT part? You mentioned that you're a Dex or a DePIN aggregator. That's a really cool angle. So for people who have no idea what that means, could you do a bit of a simplified version of what it means to connect these IoT devices to DePIN protocols and how you guys are simplifying that process?
Sure. So you go to our website, you register, and you get the app. In the app, after the registration, you would be able to see available projects, the one we work with.
Mhm.
When you click on the project, you can learn about what they're doing and what they want, and what are they rewarding you with. So, for example, you can open the app and you can see, okay, 375 AI, amazing project. They require cameras, and they require cameras in certain areas. So if you can look the description. If you fit the description, then we can tell you, hey, this is the cameras you can connect. Maybe you already have them. Maybe you have some security cameras next to your house, and they will do the job. Or maybe not. Then you can go to on Amazon and see, okay, out of these five brands, what do you have available, and pick up whatever is the cheapest for you. So the
Mm.
device arrives, you connect it through our software, and you click start streaming. Basically, after that, the idea is you just monitor your rewards. You don't have to actively do something, open the app every
Gotcha.
hour or whatever else. You set thing up and it sends the data, you get rewarded. It's basically like mining back in the day. You you set it up, you forget it. You may participate in
Yep.
pools if you want to down the road, but yeah, we just try to simplify it a lot. We also have two partnerships, a third one coming. Um, for immediate deep in participation. So we have Mysterium VPN that
Mhm.
pays you for being a VPN node. So you can install software and click, participate in Mysterium, and you get rewarded right away. You don't have to buy anything else. We have
Nice.
Coin Network, which we're doing the integration right now. Same stuff. You click participate, and you basically share your compute. We have Veyru, who pays you for sharing your Wi-Fi. So those are the DEPINs that don't require you to buy anything, any additional infrastructure, and in any additional IoTs. But the thing is, projects that do require real-world data, they're usually paying you higher for it. So if can collect, for example, temperature data, and you have the devices, their buyers usually are more like paying you extra for that. And if you want to participate in AI streaming, you would have to have sensors. So
Hmm.
basically the idea is when AI gets more to the scale of mass adoption, the people who run the models can like, hey, I need a data set from this area, or I want to like run my analysis from the data in New York, and they just send a request. Hey, send me the data for 1 week. I'll pay you $50 for that.
Mm,
For them, it's extremely cheap comparing to going out and putting devices themselves. For the users,
gotcha.
they will make their money back on devices probably twice over that period. So that's the revenue, I think, for the industry down the road.
Hmm.
But yeah, so again, long story short, we are running open beta right now. Should be available by the end of this week. You go to the website, you download the app, and we'll guide you through. You don't have to make any purchases in advance. So we currently start with temperature streaming to us, but within the next, so this is an old website. We're gonna renew it again by
Gotcha.
the end of the next. So
Well, in that
you
case, I
can,
will show this instead. The at least
yes,
the X account for who are interested. Give them a follow right above our faces. Click that account, and you can check
yeah,
out the IDO
please do.
account and be sure you are keeping up with everything that's going on here. But please continue.
So yeah, so you register, you get the app, and you can participate in temperature streamings. Where Mysterium will be added very soon. We're pretty much polishing the UI currently. The whole thing is already done, like the under the
Hmm.
hood. So and more projects going to be onboarded within the next month or two. So again, you don't have to get anything in advance.
Got it. Got it. So this is my question here because the DePIN world, decentralized physical infrastructure. Um, Sometimes I wonder, like in some companies, there's a role that decentralization plays. In some companies, there's basically none. In some, they somehow run entirely autonomously, or sorry, entirely decentralized. I'm kind of just curious on your thoughts on decentralization, how it applies in DePIN land, as
Sure.
well as the business side of things, how you guys are implementing, if you are, and just kind of crack that conversation up a little bit. I do want to come back to AI at some point, but I am curious about this.
Yeah, absolutely. So currently, we're very close to Web 2 rather than Web 3. So
Mm,
we do have blockchain, we do have this component. The blockchain is primarily used for creation of contracts, executing transactions, making sure that both parties fulfill their obligations, and making sure that everybody gets paid. So the business itself is basically run by me, meaning that it's very centralized and it's one authority. Down the road, we will move to the like my goal is move to the decentralized authority, decentralized governance,
mm,
etc. Now, the reason we're not doing it right away is because I believe it's a point of failure for many good businesses. Um, when you're a small startup, you have to make decisions very quickly. You have to You have to sell the idea, you have to find data buyers, you have to make deals, you have to make integrations, you have to be very aggressive. Decentralized, like true decentralized, you can have some decentralized authority, but with which kind of meaningless in a way, because everybody are still run by one person. But if we're talking about like true systems, a decentralized authority, it takes longer to make decision, and giving them all the information you have, by the time you pretty much write it down and explain the points, that's already obsolete. So on the startup stage, I believe this is the most efficient, having a very centralized authority. The bigger the system gets, the more mature it is. Like, we have several steps. We have DePIN projects, which we are currently integrating, AI streams, and then on-demand data sets. So on-demand data sets is where the system is mature. It's where I believe the decentralized authority can bring the value, because the benefits of it, people can take their time, make decision, look at it from different perspective, argue, and make a big strategic decision for a big company. So your advantage is resources. And when you have a small company, your advantage is flexibility. And decentralized authority doesn't provide flexibility. It provides weighted out decisions. It provides ground for arguments, but it doesn't have this quickness and flexibility. So we're gonna get there down the road, when the system is mature, when I have data buyers, when I have data streams, when this network is big enough, and when I'm like, okay, I can see that we're somewhat stable, and let's get more people involved. Let's have them, get their take.
Hmm. Very nice, very nice. Yeah, I remember, I think it was Andy, he's a big time mining YouTuber. He's big in the DePINS
Mhm.
as well. He's one of our good friends, and William as well. William Isle Marauder is his handle. Shout out William. He hosts amazing DePIN conversations with us. But one thing we talked about was, I was like, hey, how do DePINs perform in the bear market? And they were like, actually, I mean, depending on the project, but they were like, they can perform well actually in a bear market. They're a different kind of project and different kind of
Yeah.
reward than the typical crypto project kind of thing. And I remember thinking, okay, basically with bull markets, it's a year of happiness, a couple years of happiness, and then it's 4 years of pain. Usually, that's how it's been, at least in the past. So it's actually more in your interest, if you're an investor long term, to find projects that are going to perform in the bear market. Right now, DePIN is on my radar. Real world assets are my radar, only because I know for a fact it's being built by the biggest people in the world. So I know at least those guys are doing their thing. They're gonna somehow make us all do it anyway. We're over here building it on this side of the aisle, trying to do great stuff. And so in my head, I'm like, okay, this is probably the area to focus on, because a lot of people are of the idea, hey, we're in the last quarter or the last inning of the great bull market. It's going to be a crazy market. But they're like, yeah, I mean, realistically, a year or two. And after that, everyone's got to go back and continue to build. And so most projects will fall off. The DePIN world, I'm pretty excited to see how they go, because I don't think that's going to happen. Because I believe the investors don't think about it like that when they get in, especially if you're buying like a hub or a hotspot or some kind of product that's going to earn you yield.
I used to work in field of financial advice. I'm not giving one. I'm not. I'm not working there
Disclaimer.
anymore. This is not a finance. This is my opinion, and it's free. It's opinion.
All right, let's do it.
I look at the deepen as a value investment. In the value investment, or like a Walmart of the crypto world. So it
Mm,
has sales. It's commoditized. Like, we're currently not commoditized, but we absolutely will get there. So the thing is, if you provide, data, and your neighbor provide data from the same area, down the road, the market gonna get more efficient, and you're gonna get to somewhat
yeah.
similar payouts, and that's good. The commodity market is amazing, but what I'm saying is, those depends who basically tie their value to the data they produce, or to the revenues they produce, they become basically commoditized depends, and I believe we gonna play a huge role in the portfolios, of the institutional investors. I'm not sure about retail, but for sure institutional, because they have allocations, they have to invest somewhere, and it makes sense. That okay, we have businesses that generate revenue, or we have meme coins, or businesses that still have nothing, and they will perform well in the bull market, but maybe bull market will be tomorrow or 5 years from now. So as a value component, I think we definitely will have a place. Again, if we solve the problem of mass adoption. If we don't solve it, the industry will die out. You're on mute.
Thank you. There was a massive truck right outside, and I was like, you know what? I trust my voice isolation, but I don't trust it that much. That was very loud. Yeah, it's really interesting. And again, not financial advice for people who are listening.
Not a financial, again, not working there anymore.
Sure. But I think that was pretty insightful. Actually got me thinking a little bit. You had mentioned this a little bit before, and I kind of want to bring AI back into the conversation, but I'm curious on how you see the integration of IoT and blockchain. If you believe that that's where AI really will kind of fit in the middle there, how does that evolve in the coming years? And kind of as a part two, how do you even see some of these massive institutions like a BlackRock? How are these guys kind of playing? How are they going to fit in? I guess how is everyone going to fit in together is kind of my question.
That's a loaded one because
I was gonna say.
Let's break it down a little. So let's start with the blockchain part. So one of the things I want to highlight, like I told you, I love Web3 economy. And Web3 economy is tied to smart contracts, blockchain. Like blockchain itself, I'm not getting high and excited about it. For me, it's a technology, but Web3 economy does. That the Web3 economy I'm excited about, and I believe it's not that the data, like when it comes to blockchain, they can position it as hey, it's super secure. Nobody can tamper with data, blah 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 blah, which is a benefit, but if you generate, for example, temperature data outside, and there is 20 neighbors of yours who do the same, it's not necessarily that you need the most secure, protocols out there to secure these data streams. It's just security comes at costs. Does the cost justify this or not? That's for me, a question, an open one. Now, when blockchain is amazing for microtransactions, getting rewarded all these users. So getting rewarded people in, Nigeria, Malaysia, Canada, and I don't know, South Korea at the same time efficiently. That's the benefit. That's amazing benefit. The smart contracts, the overhead costs are dramatically lower. So that's for me the benefit of blockchain and where it fits into the DEPIN, not the security. The security plays a role if you work with personal data like medical data or in-house or from phone. That one, yeah, you need blockchain, I believe, for securing this stuff. But if it's environmental data, it's not that valuable usually. It has value, but it's not as valuable as personal data. And the environmental data can be sold openly. The personal one has a lot of ifs and regulations. So for the environmental or for the computation, I don't believe the security is the biggest benefit. I believe the microtransactions is the biggest benefit, and that's where I see blockchain fitting in IoT. So for the transactions, for the reward and the benefit of Web3 economy. So that was the first part. And can you remind me of the second part?
Yeah, it was kind of how everyone will fit together. The BlackRocks, massive institutions, and then if the AI, where that fits into the conversation, it was kind of a broad thing. And I guess you hit on a little bit of everything, but if there's anything else you wanted to add on there.
I think the good comparison in a way would be the gold rush. So everybody is hey, there is demand for data, and it will get bigger, and it will get massive, and it will be probably constant. And that demand is coming from AI. We are they will consolidate at some point. I believe most of them, they already do that, but they still need the data. So we have this massive demand for the data. Now, people want to provide it. They're trying to get it anywhere they can. Deepin is basically, opening mines and selling pickaxes. So we are providing means to generate data that AI wants. And Deepin projects, what I like about them a lot is they're a good middleman between the individual who wants to participate and the enterprise, because enterprise, it will it will be decades before enterprises, like traditional enterprises, deal directly with individual miner, and if that ever happens. But DPINs can, they work with users, they work with miners, they understand their needs, and they represent in a way them in front of the enterprise, and they're making deals. Enterprise need contracts, they need wet signatures, they want to negotiate the terms and stuff like that. And deepins are playing those important role. Like, they're not like, you need them, you actually need them to like run the whole thing. Now, that's talking about basically how I see the value flow here. Now, talking about BlackRock, it's very hard to get any alpha nowadays, if possible. And when it comes to institutional investors, again, not a financial advice, an opinion, individual opinion. Um, when it comes to investors, they're really hard for them to find like companies that have the potential of getting like to $1 trillion companies or getting $1 trillion revenues someday. And one of the things, like one of the reasons, is that the world is like the world they work in is developed world. And once you have the infrastructure built and once everything is ready, that's it. You're like extra road at marginal increase in efficiency. Extra body shop. Well, again, doesn't have the market is saturated. Now AI brings efficiency, and AI actually disrupts the market. And even though there are AIs who have some bullshit ideas, like basically, when I was in San Francisco, we went to Silicon Valley. Everybody was doing AI, and there was like you point at a thing and you add AI, and that's what they were doing. Like we have AI for plastic bottle collections. We have AI to analyze your logistics, analyze your invoices. AI, like anything AI. They were a massive field. And institutional investors, they don't know who will win. They will participate in the industry itself. They will flush the money there because this can disrupt the economies of the world. And we last time we had that probably when there were computers getting running. I don't think electric vehicles is a disruptive technology. It kind of takes over the market, but it doesn't make the whole like productivity more efficient, while AI does. And what that means in the end of the day is AI have cash and they need data. End of story.
Yeah, I was gonna say with the AI, it's like, well, kind of the conversation I want to open up a little bit is some of the, what's the right word here, negatives / fears, I guess, of when we start to bring in AI into the world. I also want to crack into the conversation around the security side, the privacy side, as people, are trusting with the data. And, as we start to blend those two worlds together, that part of the conversation enters that people probably don't want to talk about it, but it still needs to, we still need to know, kind of thing. So I'm curious how you think about this, how the security and privacy fits in, how you guys are able to ensure that, and just things like that. Yeah. And then we'll leave the AI side out maybe for this first part.
Okay, so let's talk about security privacy. Pretty straightforward. You sell your data with us. You are not, again, we're not spying on you. We tell you, hey, this project needs this data. They will reward you with this stuff. If you want, you participate. If you participate, that is exactly what you're sharing, nothing less, nothing more.
Mhm.
And this is a contract. So basically, it's open. If you're comfortable, if you like if you want to participate, you take the deal. If you are not comfortable, do not participate. Again, this is your decision. We are not babysitters. We're just, again, a platform. So that's first. Secondly, the when it comes to privacy breaches and stuff like that, we are very careful, especially taking into account as a startup we have limited resources. We start with environmental data. So the thing with environmental data, it's not a private data. So we share the location of IoT device, but we don't say, hey, this IoT device belongs to Josh Schmo. This is not the data we
Mhm.
stream. We stream, hey, this is the data from device located at this coordinates. That's it. And you pay to whatever like wallet is attached to it or account is attached. Now, some projects require verification of users. That's, again, we tell you openly, hey, you can participate in the project. They do need KYC. If you decide to participate, we will send this information. If you are not comfortable, don't participate. So this is currently, I think, good enough. Now, when we get to personal data like Fitbits or data like we have noise sensors, something we can support outside. Temperature, again, we do take for inside because that's very like it's more on the data about the general household rather than on the data that is personal. But we don't let projects participate with cameras inside the house or presence sensors because that requires blockchain secure infrastructure you mentioned earlier. That's where it's needed, or like data about your pulse. That's, I consider, medical data in a way. So that should be secured like the best way it can. So it's very possible that we can, and again, we don't the thing with us, we don't monetize your data. We're infrastructure, meaning that you don't stream it to us. You stream it to projects you decided. So yeah, so that's regarding the security part.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, I think people they have to know some of these things as they get in because, in my opinion, for a lot of the deep in, I don't think it's as much of the trading tokens. I think a lot of the people in deep ins see the vision. Otherwise, I just feel like they would just pick another industry, or another
Yeah.
sector of the industry. It's just a different type of person coming in. So I'm curious on some real world examples for how IDO is being used today versus how, because I know you guys are, I guess in my head, like what is the exact use case you guys are working on right now versus where you guys headed to in the future? It's kind of more like a vision question from today onward.
So once again, we're currently focused on integration of DePIN projects. So we have partners who are like, again, we have MOUs signed. We're doing the technical integrations. Some of them are easier than the others, but again, for the like foreseeable couple months, more integrations done. Like not we have partnerships done, which was a big step for us. Now technical integrations. So that's, again, next quarter or two. Now going forward, we have AI tech, we have Axon for data streams. So we will, together with deepen integration, work on getting more AIs on board. And that is basically the goal is to grow the network, like because again, we don't monetize the data. Depends benefit if the users join and stream the data to them. If somebody needs a data set or they need AI, they need a data stream, they will use the system if they think that, hey, there are nodes available. Like I can rent my AI that will pull some data, but you will only use DeepIn if you think, okay, the data is available. So focus would be growing the network, then enterprises on demand data sets. So yeah, so pretty much.
Very nice. Okay, so I was gonna say we have a few minutes left, but I've got a couple questions I think would be
Sure.
interesting. We don't have to go super deep into it, but I do think it's interesting. So, if you had to bet, or not bet, but what are some major trends that you're focusing on that you see could be developing in the future? Is there anything that you're like, yeah, I think that'd be pretty appetizing for us. We could probably take that on. Anything that comes to mind?
Mm, Again, AIs, I think we will see more and more stuff, and it will become even a bigger part of our life.
Mm.
Uh, Robotics, I think, would be also pretty big.
Oh yeah, robotics is gonna be
I don't
cool.
think next year. I think maybe another 5 years before we get to, like, to kind of seeing stuff on the streets and like meh,
Mm.
and continue our jog. But yeah, I think AI would be first, and then robotics.
So for the first time when I had seen one of those Amazon delivery robot things running around in the city, I quite literally could not believe my eyes. I guess I didn't freak out because I knew what it was, but I was just like, we are here. I mean, we're in the vicinity of here, but we're here. I mean, we are at the beginning of this. And the fact that these little robot guys are running around, there's drone delivery. We are very close to the stuff we've seen in movies.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Hopefully, we can all make
Uh,
money with it too.
Again, it's not. I don't think it's gonna be the thing which we see in entire world, but developed countries, I think we're for sure gonna see the mass adoption of AI and robotics, like in
Mm.
every aspect of life. With developing countries, it's a matter of costs. Like the labor, a lot of times is very cheap, and it may not justify it. But for developed world, especially, I think Europe. Surprisingly, I think Europe rather than US will be the first because with the regulations they have, like you hire somebody, you cannot fire them. I would rather
Mm.
have robots working for me if I were to have a European company.
Oh man,
The cool
that's
part,
interesting.
like what I think would be, what I was thinking recently is let's wait and AGI comes, or it's probably already here, and starts telling us about its rights. And then we're going to have a very huge ethical dilemma. And that would be very interesting to see how it unfolds. But again, this is just, on a side, not related to Deepin. I think it's just going to be very interesting to see how, like, the whole philosophy thing, the whole legislation, like, are they going to take it into account on the, like, ethics and legal stuff, or is it like it will be very interesting?
Yeah, it's almost like the movie Ted when the
Yeah.
stuffed animal comes out and says, "I have rights," and we're like, we've never had this situation before. We're not sure what to do." That's fascinating. Okay, here's sort of a final question. So, well, not one of the it's not the final question, but one of the last things I wanted to ask. So, what are like it's like a big misconception or some misconceptions surrounding blockchain, IoT integrations, DePIN. What are some things you've heard? I'm sure you've spoken with a lot of different users. Some people very educated on the topic, maybe even building, and then some people who have literally never heard of it, and they come at you with just some common objections where you're like, well, that's not exactly the case. Let me show you kind of what we're actually building. But I'm sure you've heard some misconceptions that you just had to debunk.
I think for like a year ago when I was talking to, like, when I was in Silicon Valley and I was talking to the like investors, it was very hard for them to explain, like, blockchain and hardware in one bucket. Like they usually understood either one or the other, and that was a whole for the industry because you need credit, or you need the finance to develop, and if the person who can give you the money doesn't understand, or it's like, their mind is not there. They kind of understood like the parts on its own, but getting all thing together was, I saw the struggle. It was just too new for them. That's what I saw, like, when it comes to industry. But I think we are kind of past that, and we're getting more educated investors.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff. Yeah, I've heard. I've been. I guess I got lucky with the DePIN conversations. I had a bunch of experts on each week, so I was just ask them questions, and they would just tell me. I can't even remember what the misconceptions were, because I relatively quickly was like, okay, most of these things I thought, these objections have been thought through because people have been here for way longer than I have. So that's really exciting stuff. So I feel like this might be a good way to wrap is if you want to get started and they're like, okay, cool, sounds good, I'm interested, I'm jumping in. Obviously, they can jump up right above us, give you a follow. If you're on YouTube, down in the description. After that, what are the next steps? What does that look like?
Go to our website. So 24th, 25th should be the ready. So you'll be able to follow steps, download the app, and join and participate. We'll guide you through. If you have questions, we have Discord channel, and we're trying to be very quick with answering questions. So if you even think it's like, hey, it's a stupid question, just ask it. We'll give you all the information. So yeah, follow us and go to the website and join the open beta. So the registration is simple. And again, if you know what Linux is, or if you know what Raspberry Pi is, then you are the person we need. Currently, it's not 100% user-friendly. I'll be open. If you don't know what that is, or if you see a terminal and you're like, oh my God, and you close it as fast as you can, the installation, somewhat technical. The goal for us to make it user-friendly. That's what's going to come in the next couple of months. But currently, we're focused on like those people who want to be professional DePIN miners. And we have tools for you. Again, if you know what Raspberry or Linux is, come in, give it a try.
Very nice, very nice. Well, look, I had a great conversation with you. I asked some personal questions that I had about the DePIN space, so I'm glad you were able to answer it. It's one of my favorite topics. So, Alex, thank you so much for coming on, and shout out to everything you guys are doing at AYDO. And for people who are watching, if you guys want to get involved, like you said, he just laid out the exact steps, so follow them. We'll be having some sound bites coming out as well, just for people who missed the stream, or I'll just try to highlight important things that came from the conversation. So I'm really excited to get those out as well for people. But just make sure to retweet the stream. If you haven't already, tag a friend, quote tweet, do all the things. Let people know that we're out here. If you're big on the DePIN world, highly recommend you guys give them a try. And I believe that's probably it. Alex, any last final thoughts before we wrap up? Or anyone you want to shout out or anything like that?
Nope, just participate in the open beta test.
Let's get it. Let's get it. Do the thing. Do the thing.
Do the thing. You're not going to regret it.
Do the thing. You're not going to regret it. All right, everybody. We have spaces and streams every single day here at Wolf. And if you're into the traditional finance side as well, Wolf Financial. If you're into crypto, Wolf Crypto. If you're into sports, Wolf Sports. If you're into news, Wolf News. We got the whole thing. We got the whole thing. I don't know how we're doing it, but we're doing it. But we'll see you all later, guys. We have streams and spaces every single day. Got a couple more today as well. And yeah, have an amazing rest of your day.